What is an industry secret that you know? The stuff that makes movie theater popcorn taste like movie theater popcorn is called flavorcol. It's a salt-like additive that you can buy yourself and add to your popcorn at home. A carton lasts forever because you only need like a teaspoon of flavorcol per cup of kernels, and it's indistinguishable from the popcorn you get at the movies. I've had a carton for almost 2 years now, which I store in an airtight container. Every bowl I make with it makes me less excited about going to the movies. 1 container of excitement killer, please. Flavorcol comes in classic butter and better butter of flavors. No joke, the better butter it tastes better. You don't need any other seasoning, but you do add oil, dyed canola if you want the authentic experience, to the pot along with the flavorcol, of course. If you're in Canada, you can buy the same stuff as the theaters here, popcorn. CA? More notes, you want butterfly corn kernels, not mushroom. And if you want your popcorn to be even better than the cinema, get white kernels because they don't have husks. I have never bought something faster. Just last night, we were playing a gig and my guitarist said he was going to show us a little trick he uses to get everyone on the dance floor. Over the mic, he asked everyone to come up in front of the stage so we could get a group picture of everyone who came to the show. As soon as he got the pic, we started playing and everyone stayed on the floor until the end of the set. It was great. My DJ did this at my wedding and we didn't know about it in advance. It kicked off the dance party on such a crazy note. It was amazing. Everyone danced all night. Finally, a wholesome trade secret. Theater seats aren't all the same size. Some are narrower than others. We use a variety to manipulate the sawtooth arrangement so that you look through a gap between heads, not straight into the head of the person in front of you. That means some seats are better, i.e., wider, than others. Mind fucking blown. We'll investigate next time at theater. They usually range from 19-inch-22. I try not to use less than 20-inch, but sometimes you need a couple of 19s to make it work. If you're really lucky, you might find the odd 23-inch or 24. I work in theater and absolutely didn't expect to find any secrets here, let alone as the top comment. This isn't always the case. Both spaces I manage have seats of all the same size within that venue. Veterinarian. When your pets are hospitalized or need to stay at the clinic, unless they're aggressive, need to be monitored very carefully, or we're absolutely slammed, they are constantly getting positive attention from the staff. I've had kennel attendants and techs cuddle up with patients on their breaks. Myself and colleagues have made phone calls or typed up records while holding on to your pets. We routinely talk about how cute the patients are. In fact, it's a running joke that we would get fired immediately if we worked in human medicine, etc. And we do get attached to your pets. We know that your pet got into your weed, and we truly don't care. Seriously. Just be honest. We operate on a triage basis. Sicker things are seen first, regardless of how long others have been waiting. If you're a shitty person and you're constantly upfront complaining to staff about the wait times of the decor, why there isn't enough staff, being difficult in other ways, being dismissive to the non-doctors, and your pet is stable and has been triaged similarly to another pet that came in around the same time, we're not picking up your file until we have to. So much of my job involves giving bad news, talking to emotional people who often take out their feelings on those around them, and having to defend the costs of emergency care and surgery, that I'm not going to eagerly jump into taking a file for someone who's being difficult before they've even been spoken to. You guys are the best. Don't forget, for every emotional angry person there is, there's 10 of us who are so thankful for you and what you do. When you're buying a higher-end refrigerator, you're basically only paying for fancier doors. Most of the inner workings are the same, just a different door configuration. I used to work in the appliance industry. To be fair, the difference between a low-end kitchen and a high-end kitchen is mostly fancier finishes. You can spend $150 on a melamine cabinet door, or $1,500 on a handmade exotic lumber cabinet door, and they both hide your plates the same. A high-end kitchen can have higher performance features, but as a percent of overall spend, those are way overshadowed by the aesthetics. The price hike between 36-inch and 48 fridges is crazy though. As a consumer, I absolutely agree. I don't give a shit about fancy doors or an ice maker or water dispenser, and I saved a fortune on my new fridge. Or be like me and go to outlet and get scratch and dent. Used to screen resumes for small companies. Job requirements are more of a wish list situation. Never let some unchecked boxes deter you from applying. You have no idea what the applicant pool is like. The biggest boon, especially at small companies, is someone who legitimately cares. Whenever I leave a job, I look for the posting for my replacement. They always have more requirements than they need. I wouldn't have qualified for my last 3 jobs that I had been doing for years. Apply and let them figure out if you're good enough. Manager in tech, and this is right. Caveat being that you really do need the top 3 to 6 requirements, as those are probably the first thing the hiring manager is looking for, but after that it gets more flexible. I end the interview though, just be honest. If the manager is at all smart, they are going to see through your bullshit and immediately count you out as a liar. Be honest, but talk through similar experience and talk about how you learn new things. I can often teach knowledge, but skills and an ability to learn and research is impossible to train. Most fitness models, coaches, and influencers are using anabolic steroids, or did it once at least, and among competitive bodybuilders everyone does it, but almost no one admits it. As a former competitive weightlifter, way more people use anabolic steroids than most people think. Also, that actor who got in really good shape and gained a bunch of muscle for a role? They're using steroids. Are you trying to tell me that Mark Wahlberg didn't pack on 40 pounds of muscle in 8 weeks eating baked chicken and steamed broccoli? Well, he did. He just left out the testosterone, Deca, and equipoise cocktail he was taking weekly. And everyone looking muscled up in a Marvel movie. It's an open secret in the movie industry that part of the Marvel, a personal trainer, and diet package includes roids. I hate seeing it in non-superhero movies though, like compare the volleyball scene in original Top Gun to the beach football scene in Maverick. The first has guys in good shape, the second has actors ridiculously roided out. It kind of works if they're supposed to be superhuman, but if it's supposed to be the real world. Hospitals suck at cybersecurity. The cybersecurity field can feel like eldritch horror. Innumerable monsters are lurking at the door, and the people who control said door are difficult to reason with. Every time a unit falls for the fake phishing emails IT sends out, the entire hospital has to suffer through another cybersecurity presentation. I was told during my driver training for a public bus company, if a car pulls out in front of you, causing you to slam the brakes, hit it. Let the passengers claim insurance from the car driver. If you slam the brakes, avoid the collision, the injured passengers will sue the bus company. Truck drivers aren't usually told this, but same for freight transport. Slamming the brakes or swerving swiftly can cause a mess in cargo. Then with no collision whatsoever, driver is solely responsible for the freight loss. Healthcare IT is held together with duct tape and twine. Related, pay attention to the treatment release forms. Your health data is being sent everywhere and there's not shit you can do about it. No sign, no treatment. Nutrition labels on small, not well-known brands can be inaccurate, and nobody would ever know. Once you send your food product out to a lab to have a nutrition label created for it, that is the last time anyone is ever going to check it. It would take someone to pay for a new analysis at a lab to see if the percentage of core gum, for example, is still accurate, and nobody is going to do that. If you give one website your name, another website your number, and another website your email, there are services that merge info together by scanning the web and build a profile of you for ad targeting and sales. Some of you may assume this already, but it is standard practice and utilized more frequently than you might think. Some plus-size models get liposuction on their face and necks to be more aesthetically pleasing. I've always noticed that plus-size models and popular plus-size women tend to be those that don't carry much weight in their faces. Lipo never occurred to me, but it makes total sense. In the restaurant industry, the secret is that the special sauce is often just a clever blend of the same condiments you have in your fridge, mayo, ketchup, and a dash of mystery. The mystery is MSG. A lot of restaurant food is like this. The difference between what a lot of people think is fresh and tasty and low quality or not fresh is just adding a lot of butter and salt. Dawn dish soap is the single best way to clean up an oil spill on the small scale. The US government went to great lengths to try and make their own cheaper in-house equivalent of Dawn for cleaning up oil, but they found that they couldn't make it better or cheaper than Dawn already did, so they just buy Dawn. It's the #1 go-to recommendation for greasy kittens as well. The military typically disposes of old vehicles by parking it somewhere on a large base and abandoning it. Sometimes they use them as training targets. It's cool but eerie to see. I know where there's a lake that's full of Sherman tanks. They drove them out there in the late 50s in the winter and left them to fall through. Knowing the US military, they're not abandoned, but ready to be upgraded. Someday, we'll be seeing aquatic Shermans invading Russia just like Patton wanted. Teachers routinely fudge kids' grades upward. Sometimes it's because a kid is nice. Sometimes it's because administrators pressure us. Sometimes we're afraid of being sued. That high graduation rate at your local HS? It's most likely due to the books being cooked. ETA, I've said this before, but this whole situation is a prime example of Goodhart's law in action. When a metric becomes a target, it loses all meaning. The HS I teach at touts a low number of suspensions and no expulsions this year. And yet, it is almost guaranteed that a student will tell me to go fuck myself when I ask for his phone tomorrow. ETA again, for all the people talking about kids getting held back. That doesn't happen anymore, really. I've been teaching 20 years, and I can count on one hand the number of students I've seen get held back. It's exceptionally rare. I absolutely should have failed one of my classes junior year. The teacher was on medical leave and I didn't do any of the class work for an entire semester. When she came back suddenly one day, she called everybody up one by one to collect all of their work from that time to be graded. I apologized and told her I didn't do any of it. She looked me up and down and said, "Well, I'll give you a C for honesty." Really dumb of me to not do the work, but she always liked me because I was quiet and stayed in my lane. Very fortunate that she fudged the shit out of that grade for me. I graduated high school. That's how I know their books were cooked. No matter how high up the chain you get, nobody really knows what's going on. Everyone is winging it for any work that falls outside their very specific area of expertise. Honestly, the more of an expert you become in your field, the more you realize how much you are winging it. Whether you're a higher up or not. Don't get me wrong, you're making informed decisions. But a majority of the time you are picking the best option given the information you have. You won't actually find out until later if it was the right option. Recipe for Coca-Cola. Ingredients: citrate caffeine 1 ounce. Extract vanilla 1 ounce. Flavoring 2.5 ounces, detail below. Effie cocoa 4 ounces. Citric acid 3 ounces. Lime juice 1 quart. Sugar 30 pounds. Water 2.5 gallons. Caramel sufficient. Flavoring: oil orange 80. Oil lemon 120. Oil nutmeg 40. Oil cinnamon 40. Oil coriander 20. Oil neroli 40. Alcohol 1 quart, let stand for 24 hours. These are all in US imperial measurements and the flavoring units are in minims or minutes. 1 minute is literally 1 drop of liquid. That flavoring section, combined with the vanilla extract, is what is collectively known at the company as 7X, the ultra-secret 7 things which make the flavor. The alcohol is only used to extract the flavors and doesn't end up in the final drink. I worked at a golf course and we only sold Pepsi products. By accident one day, I put some Pepsi in my cup that had a little chai tea in it and it tasted a lot like Coke. Whenever a customer complained about us not having Coke, I would make them my secret recipe and most of them were pleasantly surprised. Makes sense now because of the spices in your recipe. How do you know this? It's been published. The author of For God, Country, and Coca-Cola was handed the recipe on a laminated card by a Coca-Cola executive. He confirmed that it is no secret at all any longer. Their attitude is simple: are you going to actually compete with them? The places you put your parents, even the more expensive ones. Independent and assisted living. Most are owned by investors who really don't care about your loved ones. Especially the larger corporate ones with multiple units in different states. Some people are paying thousands per month for the bare minimum of care and facilities. The shit I see and hear will make your skin crawl. I'm a hospice nurse, and some of the most expensive fancy-looking ones were the worst. Some of the poor-looking older buildings had the best staff and happy residents. Don't judge a book by its cover is so true. Vehicles are offloaded from roll-on, roll-off ferries, aka RoRos, in a specific order for weight and balance reasons. If you are nice to the crew and give us cookies, you will be offloaded sooner. If you are verbally abusive to the crew, you will be offloaded last. Dead last. For weight and balance. I'm repair tech at Chuck E. Cheese. There are some games we can adjust the payout for and some we can't. We have a number called ticket per play, or ticket per tap, that we have to try to maintain. Every game and ride is adjusted somehow so we can get to that average number. The length of the ride is so you will tap your card more or less times. Some games have fixed ticket payout, we can't adjust, so we adjust other games up or down to get the whole average to that magical number. If one game we can't change pays out for tickets on average and the number we want to reach is 6, for instance, I would adjust another game that can be adjusted to 7 or 8 to compensate, because the boss only cares about the average payout on a whole, not on the individual games, unless it's insanely high or low. If a game is cheating you out of tickets, we probably did that on purpose to compensate for something else. This also goes for the claw machine. We can control how often it pays out. Tickets can be bought at 1 penny per ticket. If you drop a quarter into a token machine, if it doesn't pay you 25 tickets, you're better off just buying tickets. No, we don't reuse pizza. It's cheaper and easier to just make another one since we get the ingredients in bulk. It's just that we cut into smaller slices so it's harder to do right, plus the kitchen personnel usually doesn't care about making it look perfect. No, the job isn't fun. My job is to make sure you have fun. My job is stressful. I'll answer any questions people have. One of my best days ever was when I took my kid to Dave & Buster's. They do the digital tickets there. You play the game, then insert your card to collect the points. Anyway, the place was pretty dead when we were there. I noticed one game that said there were points to collect, so I swiped the card and didn't pay much attention to how many points I collected. I didn't even have a very good idea of what a large amount of points were. So we finish up playing and go to get some prizes. To my surprise, we have like hundreds of thousands of points. So much that the person at the prize counter has to call their manager over. He asks me questions about the card, etc. Looking at me suspiciously. I tell him about the game that I collected the points from. We go over to look at it and it is incrementing points up automatically and quickly. Basically, it was broken and loading on points. It's your lucky day, he said. We got all sorts of stuff, glasses, toys, electronics. It was probably like $350 worth of stuff. Like actually $350, not DNB $350. Your massage therapist doesn't care about your size or your body hair, but they appreciate when you've showered within a few days of your appointment and have brushed your teeth. They aren't judging you for the things you feel self-conscious about, but they are judging you if you are an entitled asshole. Saying things like "my wife would not be happy if she knew how hot you were," although it may seem to you like a harmless compliment, is creepy and will get you on the do not schedule list. That one shouldn't be a secret, but apparently, there are men who are oblivious to this. My wife would not be happy if she knew how hot you were. That sounds more like testing the waters than a compliment. The blue flakes in your laundry detergent are just the white flakes dyed blue. You sure? The blue ones always seem to taste better to me. I worked for FedEx Trade Networks clearing customs shipments, and almost anyone buying anything over $800 or stuff from China and a few select other countries have to provide what's called a 5106. A 5106 is a form the US government uses for duties and tax purposes and shit, but on the form you need to provide a social security or EIN number. We started working remote in 2021 and on my work computer from inside my house, with nobody being able to ever know I had access to hundreds of social security numbers, addresses, names, and everything to easily steal identities. That's not even the kicker. This is an entry-level position and anyone can work it and have access to this shit. If you import personally from overseas and need to provide a 5106, you're better off getting a LLC to avoid the very high possibility that some dipshit FedEx hired doesn't snap a photo of your 5106 form from his phone. Healthcare's falling apart. Everyone is burnt out. If you're an asshole, you get quoted higher labor rates. Nothing vindictive, but at the end of the day your job will take longer to complete if you're breathing down the crew's backs and trying to nitpick and micromanage. It's the only way to accurately quote and schedule. If you'd just actually fucking reboot your shit, you'd have to spend a fraction of the time dealing with broken tech. Right now, mass transit agencies in most cities in the United States are dealing with massive shortages of drivers, mechanics, and many other administrative positions. The drivers are working 70+ hours every week just to keep the system going. Drivers need a CDLB with P endorsement, therefore there is nothing illegal about working a driver 17 hours a day. Therefore, transit agencies are forcing drivers, per union contract in most cases, using inverse seniority, to work constantly. It's a huge safety risk, but no one seems to care about that. Depending on the specific deal and artist, Ticketmaster splits all those fees with the artist, sometimes at 100% in addition to the face, door, price. Plus the artist gets a guarantee. The fees are part of the price of the ticket, and Ticketmaster takes the heat for the high prices so the artist can look good for the fans. Source: built the software Live Nation used to book these deals. There are some massive defense contracts given out to certain companies that objectively should never, a history of overbudget and underdelivery, have been given, but politicians hijacked the bidding process and made it quite clear that facts weren't considered, and anyone of the bidding team that disagrees will be sideways promoted off it. Optometrists will not give you your pupillary distance, PD, after an eye exam even though they measure it, to make it difficult to order glasses online. Those freshly baked cookies at the mall? They're usually pre-made and frozen, just reheated to give you that warm, gooey goodness. In corporate culture, the IT staff can be your best resource or your biggest enemy. They deal with idiots all day, so say hello and treat them nicely. Not only when you have a problem. Bring them some donuts or something randomly. They don't forget and will take care of you next time you have a computer crisis. I've gotten new monitors, extra keyboards for home, cords, whatever I needed because I took some time to say hi and ask how their day was going. Same with the maintenance or facilities team. They are two teams you want on your side. Food expiration dates, especially on shelf-stable foods, are essentially arbitrary. Nutrition labels are often wildly inaccurate. It is technically not legal to use false information, but it's very, very rare to be caught, unless you are making health-related claims. Those food certifications that you see on food labels are provided by for-profit companies that bill you monthly, so they are highly incentivized to certify as many companies as they can and actively ignore violations. A shocking number of ingredients that are illegal or heavily regulated in other developed countries are perfectly legal and mostly unregulated in the US. The same companies that make store brands at higher-end stores like Wegmans and Whole Foods make them for cheaper stores like Walmart and Aldi. I could go on. Never take the first settlement offer. Always counter. When dealing with savvy parties, the initial settlement demand is often twice the amount of money that the party wants. Scientists and academics in general are not capable of ANY conspiracies because they're gossipy loudmouths who also drink a lot. With the advancement in lab-grown diamonds in the past few years, even the most experienced gemologists can barely distinguish them from mined diamonds. Don't waste your money on real diamonds anymore. ETA, yes, most, if not all, lab-grown diamonds have an inscription, which is how a jeweler would know the difference, though these can be hard to find immediately, as they're very small. But I mean from a quality standpoint, it's very difficult to tell, and lab-grown tend to be better quality, clarity, color, cut. So, if a jeweler can't tell until it's in a loop, the average person definitely can't. The proper lab-grown don't have the bright blue fire that moissanites do, which gives them away. Also, I worked at a jewelry store for years with a very experienced gemologist goldsmith, whom I'm still friends with and have had him tell me these things. I also took a lot of diamond and jewelry training while I was there. I'm not just pulling it out of my ass, LOL. All the most famous living artists have workshops full of people who make the art for them. They spend their time choosing concepts, talking to their gallery representatives and schmoozing buyers. The only time they touch the work is to sign it. In the visual effects industry, everybody learns on bootleg software of some sort. That is why those $2,600 list prices don't surprise anyone. I even had a high-level employee of one of the companies that make it yell at me once, "We don't care about some lone kid using it, we want to nail the companies pirating it." He was upset because I had heard through an industry grapevine that a big post house had been caught with bootleg software. Most of the bugs found in video games weren't missed by the testers. There was a production decision not to fix them. So here's what I've learned so far: everything is fucking me over, and everyone else is in on it.